and now look to Mr. Peter Lilly to continue the case for the proposition. Hear, hear.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great privilege to be invited back for what is actually my second speaking engagement in Oxford this week. But it's a particular pleasure to be invited back to speak in the Oxford Union, which brings back nostalgic memories of my own days at another university in the Fens where we had a similar union. I was then too nervous and tongue-tied actually to participate, but I did enjoy the debates. And there was one we used to have every year, which I was reminded of, which in those days we had rules, which sort of seemed archaic and antique to you, but the rule was that you weren't allowed to have a member of the opposite sex in your room after 10 o'clock at night. And the debate every year was whether this should be abolished. And one year the proponent for change said, "But what can young people do after 10 o'clock that they can't do before?" To which the proponent for the status quo, who was a professor of logic, said with commendable logic, "Nothing, but they can do it again." So to be invited to do it a second time in the week is pretty good for my age. Long before I became a member of Parliament, when, as my mother used to put it, I had a proper job, I was a development economist working in Africa and Asia on aid and development programs. As a result of which, to cut a long story short, I'm now, and because of my interest in the subject, I'm now co-chair of an all-party parliamentary group called Trade Out of Poverty, whose name says it all, that we believe that the best way for developing countries to leave poverty behind is to trade and grow through trading with the rest of the world. Now, Trade Out of Poverty is currently having an investigation, an inquiry into ways of encouraging more trade within Africa and between Africa and the rest of the world. And I've been struck by how many witnesses, witness after witness, has said Africa cannot develop without power. Electric power, cheap, reliable, and continuous electric power. And they're surely right. How can industry function with no regular supply of electricity? How can people study if they have no light in the evenings? How can hospitals operate if they have no electricity to keep their refrigerators and operating their drugs to keep them useful? Now, I don't often quote Lenin, but I'm told that one should always appeal to the left-wing element in Oxford University. And Lenin said that to bring about the workers' paradise, to bring an end to poverty, two things were needed: Soviet power and electric power. And he was half right.